Okay, so this is a Heathkit. Well, it's just a signal tracer. Let's not give it a bunch of fancy names. And most of you have seen radio, TV, phone, or not restore and use one of these on old radios. And I never really considered purchasing one because I've been fairly effective at using a signal generator and a scope to troubleshoot radios. But this turned up at the Hamfest for, I don't know what it was, $10 or $15, and it looked pretty clean, so I figured I'd pick it up. And this is kind of like the television, the B&K television analyst for radios. It's, you know, you can feed a speaker into it, or you can feed output into it, output of the audio output tube, and it's got a RF input and an audio input. Here's a look at the inside. Looks like whoever assembled it did a pretty good job. Now, I'm not going to recap this whole thing because the odds are that if I use it more than once, it'll be a special event. So I did turn it on the other day and it seemed to be quite alive. We'll turn it on again. The filter capacitor did start getting warm after a while, but that should reform. Just so yeah, you know, that's KNX, our local CBS affiliate you hear in all my videos, which is a clear channel station, and that's the station that you pick up if you make a crystal set. I mean, you don't even need a detector practically. That's one of those you can pick up in your fillings. It's so strong. So, yeah, it's quite alive, and of course it didn't come with a probe. So what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to modify this probe to the schematic of the probe that came with this. That there's a germanium detector diode in this thing right here, and a capacitor and a couple resistors. It's nothing big, but I'm going to modify this to work with this. I think this was originally for a scope that's long gone. I got 3 or 4 of these exact probes floating around here, and I opened them up, and every single one of them has got a different detector circuit in it. So it would probably work the way it is, but I'm going to just go ahead and modify it, and then I'll put this mic connector on it, and we'll try it out and play with it. The eye seems kind of non-existent, but who knows. Yeah, it's not getting hot anymore, so it must have reformed. You can hear there's no hum. Alright, so let's see what we got here. We got, well, there's a 10K, there's a 27K, here's our germanium detector diode. We got two capacitors in this one. It looks like we got a looks like that says 150 on it, so that could be 150 picofarads. And it looks like we got, what do we have on this side? An 001. So the way this is wired, that lead broke off, but okay, that's ground right there. So we have our capacitor going to, goes from probe to capacitor to germanium diode and two transistors. Two resistors, sorry. So it's got a 27K in parallel with the germanium diode, and it's got a 10K going from basically the probe to ground. I actually take that back. And then it's got a capacitor across ground, and this is almost like a scope probe, like you were putting AC in there and you were getting DC out, because it's got that .001 filter across the anyway. Alright, we're gonna have to modify this because this is nowhere near what the schematic wants. Okay, here's what the schematic wants. The schematic wants a .02, and then it wants the detector diode all by itself, connected to two resistors, a 1 meg to the shield or ground, and a 47K to the center conductor of the thing, the coax lead. So yeah, what we got now is we got basically two resistors connected to this side over here, one of them in parallel with the diode, the other one going to the shield, and then we got a filter capacitor over here across these two. So this thing has to be totally re-engineered. So I gotta find a .02. That diode should be fine. That's in there. It's obviously high frequency enough. And I gotta find a 47K and a 1 meg, and I want to find carbon resistors, because sometimes you get funky, well, maybe not, because they're on the rectified side, but still I'd like to find carbon resistors, because sometimes with this RF stuff you can get funky results with metal film or whatever those modern Chinesey ones are. So I want to try and stick with carbon if I can find them around here. Alright, well, I'm getting it together slowly, and I'm going to go back on my words, since the resistors are on the demodulated, the detected side of the diode. I'm just going to use some of these mil-spec, whatever these are, ceramic or whatever. They should work okay. I got my .02 installed. Here's the 150. I'm checking the diode now. I want to make sure I get it in there right. And I don't know what kind of diode this is. Usually a germanium will read around 0.22 or 0.25, and a silicon around 0.55 or so. This is reading 0.32, but it's not leaky, so we'll go with this. And what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to take a razor blade and re-engineer these traces. And I might have to get the Dremel out and punch some holes in this, but let me see what I can do with this. Alright, here we go. And you know what? We're not going for designing a new space shuttle here. So we come in through our .002 there. We connect to the diode. The diode comes over here to the far side. where it connects. You can see my cutout there. It connects to the 47K resistor, which then connects over here to the center shield, the center of the coax. And then we have the shield connected here, which runs there, and that solder right there goes to that light blue 1 meg resistor, which cuts back across to the diode and the 47K. So this is basically, yeah, well, whatever. Alright, here we go. I checked it all with an ohm meter and it checks good. So I think the first step is going to be, I have a little Russian radio that I've been screwing with. The audio is very distorted on, and I'm almost positive it's in the audio output stage, but I think I'll just test this out on it and we'll see what we get. I'll tell you, this thing is sensitive. That's what the... No. You can hear how it sounds really thin and kind of crappy. So, this would be the converter, first IF, second IF, and then audio. So let's just...
Business is already too big and you don't want any more customers, then don't advertise on the radio. John, owner proprietor of That's My Froyo, made the mistake of advertising on the radio, and to his dismay increased revenue substantially.
So here's the detector diode.
But if you're not like John and you'd love your business to get even bigger, contact us immediately. Check out KFIAM640.com, keyword advertise.
If your doctor says you need surgery, that's just the first step. You should ask, what's the right surgical approach? The safest one? What will get me back on my feet quickly? I'm Dr. Leslie Randall with Memorial Care, where we partner with our patients to choose the right surgery for the quickest recovery. Surgery is never one size fits all. We recommend the least invasive approach possible, since we know that less is more. Our patients trust us to provide the latest technology and great care. We explain all options, including robotic-assisted surgery. It's less invasive, with fewer risks and a faster recovery. We make your needs.
Geez, what's going on there? If that's the second IF amp right there, second IF, second IF, second IF transformer, I mean first IF, this transformer is between the first and second. Why do we have this here?
We've made it our mission to help business owners achieve theirs by providing grow, like Donna Sky of the Love and Hummus Company, a Mediterranean.
You know, I don't even know if you could tell that because of the compressor in the camera, but I'll turn this way down and we'll go here.
In big bats, it's handcrafted, but the demand is growing. Chase helps me continue to stay competitive.
And then I'll go here.
To buy more ingredients in bulk. Having working capital is like the blood and the life.
So you can do more than succeed, so you can thrive. Chase is...
So, you know, it seems like it seems like there's no gain in this transistor because you should have the base, right? You should have the signal on the base, which would be small, and then the collector or the emitter would be bigger. See this one here. Okay, so that's small there. Small there.
And a lifetime warranty.
And that's big. So yeah, that would appear to be right. You would have probably this would be the base here connecting to this transformer. Could try the converter. Might just cause it to stop running though. So let's see. So here's our converter right here, and this is called, these Russian radios use something called an IF filter. So this is basically our IF filter, then it comes into our first IF amp, then it comes through the IF transformer into the second IF amp, through the third transformer here into the detector diode, and then off to our audio stages. And this is the AVC feedback line here. I mean, it doesn't matter where it's made, it's basically the same. So seems like we're getting one hell of a signal here, and then we're getting a signal here, but we're not seeing a bunch of amplification across this transistor.
Category types, have you ever had any of the ones that are covered in like Captain Crunchberries or something like that? Go now? Well, you actually have a show that's going to be coming up. Listen, we're going to do a little nom-nom news. You want to join us for just a second? And then we'll hear about yourself in moments. You a fan of the... I really like it. Now I know.
Okay, what just happened? Oh, I think I did something here. Come on, stupid thing.
Don't have the downtime for rest period.
Yeah, we still don't. Still don't have the gain.
To Space Mountain, yeah. Space Mountain a couple of weeks here. Comes to horror. I'm trying to think. Yeah. In your line of work, when he plays a large part of it. No, not that. I guess it would be a branch of the certainly. Like by Alan Moore, and you'll be scared. Yeah. I'm going to now. I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, we've got something grossly wrong here in this transistor or something. We've got 7.82 on that. We've got 7.57 on that, and we've got 2.3 on that, and the schematic calls for 7.46, 1.18, and 1.06. So How are we getting 7 volts on something we shouldn't? That seems way off. I guess if the transistor was shorted, we could have 7. I don't know, that's a good question. I guess the emitter is isolated except down through the AVC into ground. Boy, that would cause some excess current draw though. Okay, I took this off and the detector diode has been bypassed. How is this even working? And then we got a jumper here. How is this working with the detector diode bypassed? What is going on with this? Well, I discovered the problem here with this radio, and you can see, I don't know if you can see that right there. It's supposed to be in right there, and with a magnifying glass I can actually see the wires there, and you can see the wire there that's supposed to be going to it, and of course it's broken. So why basically this coil right here, these 2 leads right there and right there, this is what was jumped with the blob of solder, which is the power to the transistor. So basically they had a blob of solder from there to there, so they had this shorted, this bypassed, and they had this bypassed. Well, you know, what the... I don't know if you can see that wire there, but I managed to pull it out and measure it, and it measures good. You can see it right there. So that connects to this lead that was broken off, and I know this was a prior repair than to me because of the solder jumper. The solder jumper that you saw connecting across here. So man, that is a fragile repair, but I think I can do it. I'm not in the mood to do it today. You know, I need to get a vise and a good almost microscope and just sit down and really just do some microsurgery on this, and I think I can fix that. So anyway, there's a look at this and this, and of course the reason why we didn't have any gain on this transistor was because the primary of this was just shorted because it was open. It had opened, someone put a solder blob across it, and that's why it didn't have any gain, because it was just all being shunted off the ground. Okay, you know what, I don't even know if you can see that in the camera, but I think I got it, and that right there is at the absolute maximum of my limits of sight with a good magnifying glass anymore. That wire is so small. This right here, what I used to bridge it, this is 32 gauge, and it's twice the size of the wire that I soldered to. That wire that I soldered to is like less than 1/1000th of an inch. It is tiny. So now if I can get it back together, you know, without breaking it, that'll be a real achievement. Okay, well, I got that transformer fixed, but it's still not working right. And I believe the transistor might be bad, but also this right here is supposed to be 560 picofarads, and you can see that it's the wrong type of capacitor. And it's a 0.04, which would act like a dead short at 455 kilohertz. So this needs to be replaced with a 560 picofarad, and I have a feeling this transistor's bad. Now, whoever did this was quite brilliant, because basically what they did is they just shortened it down one IF stage. By bypassing this and shorting this out, because this was open, because the transformer was open, they basically turned this transistor into the detector, which is pretty brilliant if you think about it. So, yeah, this has been one of the more intriguing repairs I think I've done. Well, just taking that 0.04 out woke it up big time. Big time.
Kitchen cabinets in every price range. You'll find all kinds of great-looking countertops, too, both natural and man-made. Best of all, you'll find patient, experienced designers who will guide you through the whole process. You won't overlook that bell or whistle and regret it later. They think of everything. Right now at the kitchen store, every cabinet is on sale, and they offer a 365-day same-as cash option, which means no interest and no payments for 1 full year.
Let's try a weaker station. There we go. Okay, here's a 560. Notice it gets louder with the 560. And it goes away with the 0.04. It's so I'm saying that 0.04 is a dead short.
सारे के सारे जिनके पास कोई आस नहीं थी, कोई वो नहीं, वो आते और इस गवर्नमेंट की और इस गवर्नमेंट के जो करता धरता लोग हैं, इनकी बोटियां खा जाते। लेकिन ये बड़ा यूजफुल रोल प्ले करते हैं इमरान खान साहब किसी निजाम के लिए। ये जो चंद इकट्ठे हुए चंद नहीं लाखों आप कह लें, उनके सामने एक तमाशा है, धरना है।
All right, well, what a difference.
Most of the nearly 60,000 Central American children.
This, because this circuit has been screwed with, this transformer really needs to be aligned, especially when you change this capacitor right here, which is the capacitor that's in parallel with the primary of this. And you know, this should probably really be a mica, not a disc, but they use these kind of weird square discs. I don't know if I want to try and scrape that wax out of there and screw with that, because you know, I'm going to start tweaking on it and it's just going to break something, and I just don't know if it's worth it. But it works really good.
A highly intelligent BMW 5 Series. Question 1. Are your headlights not only bright, but smart? Are they adaptive LED headlights that turn dark?
Yes, we need smart headlights for our car. Alright, what's going on here?
Excuse me, I put my yesterday.
Too bad.
My title is CFO, which stands for computer. And the critics are raving. They solved my mouse problem and renewed my faith in theater. I like my mice dead, but dead mice that can act are even better. Tomcat got the mice out of my walls, onto the stage, and into my heart. Dead Mouse Theater. Open to the public this fall at tomcat.com. DJ did not
Vote and the popular...
The most noble...
In a situation of a communicable infectious disease, we have a special unit there that has been prepared to be able to do this kind of observation.
He points out that exposure to Ebola doesn't necessarily mean the person will become sick. 4 other American aid workers who were infected with Ebola while volunteering in the West African outbreak have been treated at hospitals in Georgia and...
Pressure and high blood sugar had nothing to do to predict no impact on a...
Alright, well let's, for comparison, because this video was supposed to be about the signal generator, let's probe it and see what we get. Okay, so we'll start back where we were. What am I doing wrong here? Can't. So, looking good. You know, there's a very interesting repair. Okay, we'll just start at the top.
Queremos saber de ti lo que Dios está haciendo en tu vida en este momento.
rápido, pero había que...
우리를 가장 위하셔서 피할 길을 주시고 감당할 시험밖에 주지 않으시. Work on all these wonderful things: your sleep, your mood, your muscle tone.
That's Radio Disney.
Really taking it. It's still up for grabs with 13 minutes left in the second.
Search the Long Trail Home on Facebook. There's a link to his fundraising page.
All the money in the world is great.
Hicieron el bazar de Rasmus contra Paxton.
Saving hundreds of dollars every month on your mortgage. And Quicken Loans is here.
That's the camera.
Nadie me puede decir por qué la Coca-Cola parece saber tan...
That is informed, that's based on the right principles, and that they feel comfortable making.
Sold at the Big A. Mark Langston alongside. And Mark, last night, Angels dropped the opener here, but... temptation to do this backwards. When prices fall, we're going to ask you to buy. Now, we're going to be very specific.
Successful trading groups, because when I talk to traders around the country, I see a lot of things, and really
having trouble learning mathematics. You know, they got this Common Core. I won't go into the whole thing, but they're teaching kids math so confusing the parents can't even help their kids. The parents can't pass the Common Core math test. I won't go into it all, but they're not teaching math like they used to. And one of the things we find out is they want you today to memorize 467 math facts. You know, 5 times 5 is 25, 5 times 6 is 30. And we don't know what it means, we just know the right answer. And kids learn 467 of these by memorization.
Sporting Goods Store, proud to be an official sponsor of USC Athletics. Visit them.
Eso de las 5 llegó el tío Francisco con tomada cereza y un camión de cerveza. Ya pasadas las 7 llegó la abuelita con...
that I was looking at something similar for a family member as a gift. And Tachyon has something called a gun cam. And it's, I don't, have you ever looked at, have you seen that?
And every year on August 3rd, my family goes to IHOP. It's kind of corny. It's corny, but it's something. Watching them compete, and that's what I try to do with my kids now.
It's always nice to see it, my friend, and the people listen and understand the passion.
All right, enough of this.